Shock took Pac on the road because you know his mother had moved. He didn't have no place to stay.
Where did she move to?
I think Atlanta.
Okay.
I'm thinking Atlanta.
After Marin City?
This is after Marin City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then he just stayed in the Bay.
And he stayed in the Bay. He stayed with us. He lived with me. He lived with Layla. You know what I mean?
What was your biggest memory with Pac when he was around with that Strictly Dope era? Most memorable moment with him?
Man, one night we got jumped by like 20 people.
What?
You know what I mean? And what I respected about him was he was a little dude. You know what I mean? Like we was all little dudes, but he was short and skinny. You feel me? But he never ran. You know what I mean? He'll take his lumps and take his punches, and for that, you know what I mean? That's the dude that you'll go to bat for. That's why I still do Pac stuff to this day. I speak at Berkeley. Yeah. We got one of our first songs from back then, Panther Power, is in a Great American Literature book for Harvard.
You on that song too?
Absolutely.
Oh man.
Most of the songs, when you hear old Strictly Dope songs, people say, "Oh, I heard this song. It's Tupac when he's a kid." It's really both of us, but we sounded so much alike. We were so
in sync.
Had so much, the same kind of swag.
Wow, that is huge. So now 90s come up, Strictly Dope, man. So
Strictly Dope dissolves. Pac goes on the road.
What was the second deal, real quick? After TNT, it was.
After TNT, Pac went to Interscope, and I went to Strictly Business Records with Mac Dre.
So you went with Mac Dre's label.
Yeah, man. How it happened was the Mac died, and my first day going to Vallejo was the day of the Mac's funeral. I went to the Mac's funeral. I connected with Dre through his cousin Los. We had hung out with some girls the night before the funeral because everybody was all depressed and feeling some kind of way. And the next day, we go to the funeral. After the funeral, he's like, "Man, I want to take you to Kyrie. Let Kyrie hear you." You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
And I had always looked up to Kyrie's music. What he had done with Dre was like incredible. I'm from the 707. It was giant. You know, back then there was no E40s. There wasn't nobody else. It was just really like Mac Dre and the Mac. And when the Mac died, the mantle was passed to Mac Dre. And man. You know what I mean? From there, we started recording.
So let's do a quick timeline check real quick.
This is now we talking 1990. 1990 is when I signed my first deal.
Okay, so the first Mac came out and then he passed away.
The Mac came out really, I think, in like 87, somewhere around there. He had like the dopest record cover from the Bay. It was like them silked up, big chains on, pistols, money, and like he really
the first one to do it.
Laid out that gangster music, man, for the Bay, man, like that. Made it look good. You know what I mean?
The standards of what they're doing.
Exactly.
So this is 97. You say, right? So it now moves on, and so it's you got. Then it goes to the next Mac Dre. You said that E40 wasn't out yet at that time?
Well, I mean, I think E40 had released, they kind of like starting to release the Click stuff.
This is about all the same time.
About all the same time, but Mac Dre was like the standard in the 707. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I remember we went and did Short Dog in the House video shoot, right?
Yeah.
Mac Dre walk in the room, everybody, Too Short, everybody. Mac Dre, he was already a star in 1988, 1989.
What?
Yeah,
man, this is crazy.
He was the Mac.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
So now let's
1990. Here's the change. 1990.
Yeah,
Pac's working on Tupacalypse Now. We in the studio. I wrote his first single, the majority of his first single, Trapped. And I also like wrote bits and pieces all over the record, 3 or 4 songs here and there.
That's huge.
It was an incredible time period. We did a lot of recording in at Starlight Studios in Richmond.
That's huge.
And it was like right after that, I went and started doing my thing in Vallejo with Mac Dre, and man, it was giant.
That's huge. That's huge. I did not know that you really had that relationship with Mac Dre. And
both
Pac.
Mac Dre and Pac are personal. They personal to me in more ways than just music. But musically, they are like we share the same blood, a type of thing. Musically, passion, absolutely. Dre put me on in one regard, and you know, Pac is the one who gave me the name Ray Love. That's what he called me. Nobody else called me that.
Yeah. You know so 90, you start rolling with the, Mac Dre and stuff.
I started rolling with Strictly Business records. Me and my crew, the Link crew.
Okay.
We released the first record, which was Who Could Be Trusted. Yeah. And the first single on that was Get My Money On. Get My Money On actually made history here in the Bay Area because there was no independent artists getting played on a KMEL and Wild 107. Back then, 94.9 was Wild 107. None of the power stations would work with independent artists. You could get a spin in the mix show, but you could never get rotation. So we had this plan. We said, well, what we gonna do is we gonna make it hard for them to deny us. For one thing, we moving in the streets. We everywhere. We go to all the high schools, all the colleges. We came here back then. You know what I mean? We did.
Who put these things together for you when you were going to all these spots?
Kyrie Renald Powers was the other owner of the label.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, we just put together this massive team. Rick Nelson, and what we did was we put up these huge poster boards, and we did it kind of like a silhouette. I had this logo that was the man behind the fence, and it was almost like a Public Enemy kind of like look to it. And we put it up everywhere where you would have to drive. Every freeway you would have to get on to get to KMEL 94.9. All you would see is Ray Love. So every day when the program directors was driving to work, all they saw was me, and they like, man, who is this dude?
So you would put your own sign on the freeway.
On the freeway, on the roads,
in the dirt, like you just
well, you know how you got the snipes, man. You put put it up, stickers everywhere, really hit them up.
Could you get like back then? Could you get in trouble for putting stuff?
Of course, it was guerrilla marketing though. It was like I had to do it. I didn't have
to
too
get
much
to where you're at.
Yeah, for sure. I figured it was worth the risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So what happens after that?
So after that, we get called. We tried to go up to KMEL 3 times, got kicked out. We got called up there. Finally, and it was like, well, we want to, see how it goes and give you a few spins every day.
Wow.
So then we ran a strong radio campaign. I had all my folks, man. Back then, I would hit 4 or 5 counties a day, just how I moved. So everybody from Marin City, from Santa Rosa, Vallejo, Richmond, Oakland, Sacramento, everywhere, 408, everywhere. You know what I mean? It was calling in and blowing it up, and we was the first. That was the first independent single ever to get picked up on the power station out here. You know what I mean?
What is the difference now to you back then when you were at a radio station and you were going through a lot of different it was way different back then. What is the difference to you now?
Well, I think KMEL and bigger stations like that have a lot of competition with stations like your own. Stations with online stations because the power stations. If you go to Houston, you go to New York, you go to Miami, you go to LA, you go to San Francisco, you hear predominantly the same songs. Back in the 80s and 90s, if I went to Houston, I heard Houston. If I went to New Orleans, I heard bounce music. They ain't even really listening to much rap. If I went to Miami, it was booty shaking. If I went to New York, it was hip hop. If I went to LA, it was more gangsta gangsta. If I went to the Bay, it was more player. You understand what I'm saying? So it was just a different swag. It was a different vibe.
Cultures everywhere.
Right. And I think music was better back then in the sense of you got a different feel. You know what I mean? Whereas everything kind of blended together. Even the Bay, you know what's funny? Back in the day, young rappers now might not realize, and even young people right now who wiggle through the Bay, they might not realize that the Bay used to be all divided. If you was from Oakland, you couldn't just be going to Frisco every day. If you was from Vallejo, you couldn't just be smashing through Frisco, Oakland, Marin City. It wasn't like that.
The way it is nowadays.
Right. You could look at a dude and be like, man, that dude from Frisco or that dude from Richmond or that. Now we all kind of blended together, which is good because we built a nation. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what the Thiz movement really is about, is that we built a united front and we built a nation. So that's good. But on the same hand, I think in a lot of ways we lost our individuality. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
So that, I mean, it's good and bad sides to it. And I think music as a whole across the country has lost a lot of its individuality. When I released Get My Money On, we released it in '92.
Okay.
We recorded through all of '91, and then '92 we started releasing music.
Okay.
It was like, man, such an incredible ride. I remember the first time I heard myself on both radio stations at the same time. When you in the car and you change the station and the song is playing on both stations at the same time, it was amazing. You know what I mean? It was big up to CMC too, because they really put us on the map. It was like MTV
for the Bay.
For the Bay. '93 is when Strictly Business Records became Young Black Brother Records.
Okay.
Kyrie started his own label, and he started. That's when Mac Mall came in. Mac Mall steps into the picture. He had been recording on 4-track with Mac Dre.
Okay.
He was a little bitty dude, 14, 15 years old type of thing. And I took him on the road with me. We did like lowrider car shows and a bunch of stuff together.
93.
This is 93. This is late 92, early 93, somewhere around
and
there.
that's when Mac Mall started rolling with Shaw?
Yeah, that's when he was I mean, Mac Mall is from the Crest. I mean, he's he ride with everything Crest side, everything North Pole. But as far as like musically being out there,
yes,
93 was when he started recording his stuff. Yeah, his mother was very strict. She was very adamant about him graduating high school. So
he was telling me
he didn't get to ride as much as he wanted to during that time, but it was still a blessing because, you know what I mean, it was greater later.